That's great. So, morning, everybody. My name's Phil. I'm the guy behind Live Talk. Thank you to all of you who are members of the Live Talk group over on Facebook. We've also got a group on LinkedIn as well, but LinkedIn's functionality is a bit clunky. The Facebook one seems to be the best of the bad lot, to be quite honest. For those that we've not met before, I've been around for quite a few years, the entire time working with financial advisors in one way, shape or form. We put together Live Talk. In fact, the first version of Live Talk was back in 2004, something like that. The idea that we could put financial advisors together around this kind of industry water cooler online. It seems to work quite nicely for a lot of people. For those that, again, we've not met, I basically help financial advisors with marketing and technology. I'm fairly obsessed with it, and when AI came along, this was like heaven, absolutely wonderful. I presented to over 1 million financial advisors around the world, which has really been quite useful in terms that it's given me really great insights into the way financial advisors think around the world and the best practice. And we try to share that. You've probably seen me going on about our new marketing club, which we're launching, which is really distilling the best of the best marketing and lead generation from financial advisors around the world, and it's available to join now, and it kicks off in the middle of January. I've written a few books as well, and the top right one there is really my first edition of helping financial advisors to start embracing this wonderful world of AI. So if you're paying attention, one of you will win a copy of that today, and we'll get that off to you. So what are we going to be talking about today? Fundamentally, what is AI? We hear this bandied around quite a lot, and we kind of make assumptions that people know exactly what AI is. We're going to talk about how it's actually being used as well, and really how financial advisors can use it right now. And I say right now because there is still this perception that we are seeing AI as something that is going to come down the track in a couple of years' time, and we've got to be ready for it then. The simple fact of the matter is it's not coming in the future, it's here right now. And there are financial advisors who are using it right now and making the most of it. And my aim today is to cast a little light to hopefully make those of you that are still sitting on the fence with this a bit more confident, and to actually start using this stuff. There are clearly, we're in the world of financial advice. There are rules, there are regulations, but there are still ways that we can use AI to dramatically improve our productivity without falling foul of our compliance friends, our regulators, and we're going to talk about how we do that as well. Please don't ignore this. This really is important. This is one of those moments in the history of our industry, our profession, where big change is happening right under our nose. So we've got to start getting to grips with it and start learning about it. I was working with some sixth form students yesterday, and we were doing some like a speed networking session, just getting them more confident about talking about who they are, what they're about, what they're looking for. And it was a kind of semi-job interview as well. And the message that I was trying to get across to many of them was, whatever role you go into in the future, be that law, be that data science, whatever it is, whether it's the medical profession, you absolutely owe it to yourself, and indeed whoever you work for, to really have an understanding of how AI is impacting your particular industry. So I was saying to one young lad who's really keen to go into law, I was saying to him, AI may not directly impact the world of law right now, but if you're going for a job in the future, and there are other candidates, and you're the one who has got even a basic understanding of how AI can be used in law, you are going to have a distinct advantage. So financial advisors, I think we owe it to ourselves to really just get under the skin of it. So how have I got into AI? Well, I first started with playing around with various tools that I could create art. You might argue this is not art, but it's fun to do. And I very quickly discovered that the more skilled I get at what I ask it to do and to create for me, the better results come out the other side. So I use a tool called DAL-E, which is actually built into ChatGPT now, to create all sorts of bits and bobs. We've got another person here. Here we go. And, I really enjoy doing it. And I've set up a separate Instagram account where I just put some of my AI pictures that I've created. And I really thoroughly enjoy it. I thought nothing more about it until I get an email or I get a message through Instagram one particular day from a guy who's following my Instagram channel. And he says, Phil, I like your AI pictures. How much would you charge me to have a copy of that picture top right? He said, I'll happily pay for that if you can have it delivered to me on a canvas about 20 by 16. And this kind of blew my mind a bit, that I'm just doing this for fun. And all of a sudden, people are offering to give me money to reproduce it for them so they can stick it on their walls. And then that got me thinking about, well, hold on, if me, a hack amateur at this stuff, can make money out of AI, albeit pretty casually, then think what else we could do and think how financial advisors could make money from using AI in a variety of different ways. So we'll explore that one as well. I asked for a picture of a financial advisor before AI came along, and it created this for me, which I thought was fairly amusing. Interestingly, that picture has got a bit of AI in it, namely the calculator. The calculator is a form of AI. It's called narrow AI, and narrow AI is basically AI that does one job really quite well. Then I said, I created another picture, and I said, I've been in the industry for quite a long time. Can you create an image of a financial advisor's office when I got started? And this is what it came up with. So we can have a lot of fun with this. We can play around with it, but the opportunities are absolutely endless. But the simple fact of the matter is we've arrived at a time in our industry, in our profession, which literally is another industrial revolution. This is the time where things really, really are starting to change. And I know, the media likes to portray this as AI is coming for our jobs. And let's be honest about this. We can't sugarcoat it. AI will impact a lot of jobs negatively. On the other side of the coin, it will also impact a lot of jobs very, very positively. And the people who decide to adopt it and to get on board with it and to learn about it and figure out how it can help us and ultimately help our clients, they're the ones who are going to win. Now, AI is not really a particularly new topic. Alan Turing was talking about it. And there was this, if you Google this famous conference, the Dartmouth Conference in 1956, where they started to ponder the question as to whether or not machines could think and the degree to which they could fulfill roles that we fulfill today. So it's not exactly a new idea. And, you pay your money, takes your choice, and different people have got different views on AI and to, whether or not it is actually of any use. And those of you that have actually played around with any AI, you'll know already that it has its shortcomings. But the more you dig into it, the more we begin to realize that many of those shortcomings are down to how we as individuals are using it. We all know that we heard the expression garbage in, garbage out, and nothing could be more real than that when it comes to how we use AI. So we'll be talking a bit about how we use it a little bit later. So in terms of a definition for AI, you look around the internet and broadly speaking, you can sum it up as this. Artificial intelligence is the simulation, the key word is simulation, of human intelligence processes by machines, especially computer systems that perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence. The more data you give it, the more intelligent it becomes. Somebody who actually knows what he's talking about, Sulab at Deloitte, at its most basic, AI is software that mimics and generates human behaviors, planning, generating ideas, understanding speech and visuals. Its ability to scale human intellect will have a profound impact. Ginny, former CEO at IBM, some people call this artificial intelligence, but the reality is this technology will enhance us. And in the short time that we've had AI, that is very, very clearly the case if we are smart about it. So instead of artificial intelligence, I think will augment our intelligence. I think it's important, though, that we look at the potential other side of AI. Stephen Hawking has had some interesting thoughts. The development of full artificial intelligence could spell the end of the human race. And I think, you know, when we put on any presentation that we're trying to inspire and motivate people to take action, and we throw in phrases like spelling the end of the human race, that can be a bit of a downer. But it's important that we are all aware of the good sides and the potentially not so good sides of this technology. Nevertheless, it is here and it isn't going away. What is really good to see is that the main, for want of a better word, manufacturers of AI tools are really taking it very seriously in terms of trying to make sure that there are guardrails and there's safety along it. Interesting, I did a presentation and I had an IFA come up to me afterwards and he said to me, Phil, could I get ChatGPT to create a plan so that I could murder my brother-in-law? Those were his actual words. And I said, well, have you given it a try? And he said, yes, but it wouldn't let me. So there are already safeguards built in as best they can to try and prevent people using AI for harm. You will have heard recently about the furore over OpenAI, which is, you know, one of the main companies with Sam Altman being sacked. Some interesting theories as to what actually happened there, but one of the theories is that when OpenAI was set up as a company, the board really wanted this to be a business that did good for humanity and was less of a commercial venture than anything else. But it said that Sam Altman really wanted to push down the commercial side. So there was perhaps friction there. We don't yet know. That will doubtless come out in due course. But the one thing that is pretty clear is that it is enabling us to do much, much more with much, much less. And certainly from my own point of view, AI tools my productivity now has literally gone through the roof, which I'm really very, very excited about. And I think that's the potential for all of us here. So what we have is a tool that enables us to leverage technology. Now we have the gentleman on the left is leveraging technology. Both these people here want to go from point A to point B. There is a fair chance that the person leveraging technology is going to get there a lot faster. That's fundamentally really what we're talking about when it comes to using AI. But the interesting thing about AI, it's not like putting a person up against a bike. It's like putting a person up against a supercar. It is that powerful. And we've got to learn how to harness it in some way, shape or form. Now, I say advisedly that AI is already and has already been controlling us for quite a while. Those of you that are on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or TikTok or indeed Spotify will know this all too well. Instagram's algorithm is quite extraordinary. The concept is that these sites want to show you more of what actually interests you. Now, we know that that's potentially very positive, but we also know there's a downside to that in that some people will be shown more of things that they really shouldn't be seeing. Why is there a picture of the Eiffel Tower? There's a picture there because apparently the average TikTok user scrolls the height of the Eiffel Tower 3 times every day. That's how AI is controlling people. You look at Spotify. I'm sure Matt, who I can see out the corner of my eye there, Spotify never ceases to amaze me how it managed to show me obscure heavy metal bands that I didn't know that I really needed to know about. So AI is already controlling us in a variety of different shapes and forms. So fundamentally, there are 3 types of AI, only one of which actually exists already. The first one is narrow AI. And as I said right at the start, narrow AI does one thing really well. So a calculator, Google search, face recognition, music suggestions. Those of you that have ever been on Amazon, you'll know how good Amazon's algorithm is at showing us more of things that we think we might want to buy. But fundamentally, I think we all understand this. The next type of AI is general AI. Now, this doesn't yet exist, although it almost exists. OpenAI tell us that they are pretty close now to creating tools that can that can basically run our lives for us. The closest we've got to those tools are things like Siri or Alexa, which are basically tools that can access multiple types of narrow AI. So where this is leading, just to give you a pretty feeble example, is let's say next year you want to go and for your summer holiday, you want to cruise the Greek islands. And what you could do is you could use general AI through one instruction. It will plot the routes, it will book the boats, it will book the crew for the boats, it will book your flights to get to Greece, it'll suggest restaurants and book tables. It'll do literally every single aspect of it. And I can imagine for many of us, that will be really quite interesting. So it goes a lot further than just saying, Siri, turn on the radiators. It'll be able to do a whole lot more than that. And as I said, OpenAI, it is believed they are pretty close to creating a tool that does that. Further down the line, we've got what's called super intelligence, which is way above my pay grade, and nobody really knows anything about it at all just yet. But for the time being, we've got some very exciting tools that we can play around with. Now, the power of what's really interesting is the speed of development. We've got a couple of people who just want to join. Let's just get them in here. Bear with me. There they are. Is the speed of development. So you may have heard of Deep Blue, which is basically a supercomputer, and the goal was to teach Deep Blue to play chess and to eventually beat a grandmaster. In this particular case, Garry Kasparov, and the designers, the programmers at Deep Blue successfully managed to do that, and it took them 18 years. But when it actually happened, everyone said, well, this is absolutely amazing. Just think what will happen in the future. Well, the next step was, those of you that, I don't know if any of you actually play chess online against a computer or something like that, but if you do play chess online, you are basically playing a tool called Stockfish, which is basically the best chess player in the world. It's a robot, it's an AI. And again, so a team of developers set out to try and beat Stockfish and created a tool called AlphaZero, and long and short of it, it took them just 4 hours to teach it how to play chess from scratch and to actually beat Stockfish. So you can see there the speed of development is really quite extraordinary. Generally speaking, for use of AI, the main areas where we are starting to see quite extraordinary advances are obviously in healthcare. Almost on a daily basis, we are seeing tools and announcements about tools that are created to diagnose critical illnesses and diseases very, very much earlier. And here's just a tiny list of some of the things that are literally happening right now. What's really interesting is top health professionals, when they're discussing this, they are delighted that these tools are here to help them do their work. And they said what's really extraordinary is that no one really knows how the AI tools that are being developed are actually able to do this. I was listening to the radio a couple of days ago, and I just caught the tail end of a program where they said there's now an AI tool where through a brain scan, they can tell how someone will actually vote. And they said it's pretty well 100% accurate. So, there's really interesting possibilities for the future, which are probably routes that we don't really want to go down. But the simple fact of the matter is this technology is here and it is doing quite extraordinary things. We are going to see a lot of AI being used in our particular industry. I think particularly in the wider financial services industry. I think underwriters are going to have a field day with this. I think investment houses are going to have a lot of fun with this. I'm already on a particular newsletter where an AI tool sends me an email every single day and tells me what shares to buy and sell that particular day, should I be interested in doing that particular thing. So we're certainly going to see AI being used a huge amount within our profession. I think underwriters particularly are going to be doing this a lot. Personalized marketing at the bottom of the list is something we're going to explore a bit more today, because I think this is one of the great opportunities for financial advisors. More widely, where does it end? We've got so many opportunities that AI is going to be used, certainly in terms of predicting the weather. As we have global warming right now, we're going to need tools like AI so we can get warnings out to communities that much faster to evacuate, and so on and so forth. So we're going to see all sorts of different ways that it is being used. And to be quite honest, we're only limited by our own imaginations as humans as to how we can use these exciting tools. In terms of practical examples, those of you with ChatGPT, I'm not sure whether this is available on the free version as well, but certainly on the paid version, you can now take photographs and interrogate those photos. And here's one that I just spotted in a car park. It's Wednesday at 4. Can I park at this spot right now? Tell me in one line. Yes, you can park for up to 1 hour starting at 4 p.m. If you're in the Calvert family and you have a son at university at his first flat, and you're not sure what to have for dinner, you can take a photo of the inside of your fridge and it will instantly tell you what you can cook for dinner based on what is actually in your fridge right now. Those of you with ChatGPT on your phone, go and give that a go a little bit later. It is enormous fun. It is also enormous fun just taking photos of family, friends, pets, and asking it what it's seeing. And it's very entertaining, a brand new hobby for us all to enjoy. So the bit that I'm really interested in when it comes to narrow AI is generative language. That is the G in GPT. The main tools that people are using, if those of you that have used it, ChatGPT 3.5 and 4, DALL-E 2 and 3, Google Bard is pretty good as well. Microsoft Bing always used to be considered sort of second-rate search engine after Google, but Google Bing now is Microsoft Bing now is absolutely fantastic, and they have got their Copilot tool up and working now, which is absolutely fantastic. And I know a lot of IFAs have been waiting to use that as well. So don't just think that it's all about ChatGPT. Bing is absolutely superb now. And also, as another alternative, Claude AI is another one. And there are all sorts of email newsletters are about literally every single day. I get a list every single day of brand new tools that come out that will do extraordinary things that we didn't know we needed to know and didn't know that we needed to use. So these are the main ones that are being used out there. So the GPT, for those of you who don't know, GPT, generative pre-trained transformer, which means it's been trained on data, existing data, to create new content. ChatGPT is trained up to, I think it's April 2023, but number 4 can access the internet as well now. So it's really getting up to speed, and it's amazing what it can do. In terms of the benefits for financial advisors, it's going to get very exciting. Productivity being the first one. And one of the things I'm going to come on to is, for years and years and years, I've been running workshops for financial advisors on marketing. And thankfully, financial advisors like the stuff I put out there for the most part. But I know that with the best will in the world, some of it will never get done, will never see the light of day, because financial advisors are pretty busy. There's a lot to get done. And with the best will in the world, there are things that you might want to be doing, but you simply don't have the time or inclination to get done. AI is going to change all that, and you'll be able to get stuff done that you didn't realize you could actually get done. Certainly in terms of reducing staffing needs, that's going to be superb. Get that marketing done, personalizing communications as well, analyzing data, and potentially bringing clients on board. I think for the time being, we're all going to keep well clear of using real client data. I think we've still got a lot of work to do on as to how we do that. The FCA will probably be quite slow off the mark getting that done, but it's something that will be used at the time. But for the time being, I do know there are quite a few financial advisors who are taking, just for test purposes, batches of real data, completely anonymizing it, and then using it to create reports and tasks and personalized communications. So I think there's exciting times ahead, but it doesn't mean to say we can't use it right now. Now, let's do some practical examples of how we can use this in practice. One of the concepts I like to talk about is how financial advisors communicate their value. Now, I think we all know that where a client is working with you for the long term, that value that you provide to clients is really quite substantial. And how you measure that is quite a difficult one. I think your clients will measure it in a variety of different ways. Many of them will measure it in terms of, the advice you give, the plans you put in place is nothing short of life-changing for many of them. However, one thing I've noticed over the years is the single most talked about topic in our Facebook group is lead generation and marketing. When financial advisors join Life Talk, we've got some joining questions. And one of those questions is, what's your biggest challenge in your business? And lead generation comes out top time and time and time again. It's not always top, but it's time and time again. It's the most thing. And so it doesn't surprise me that questions around lead generation come up all the time. Now, one way to really deal with this is to, how do I put this? It's about teasing people into your world. And a way to do that is to create a value ladder. What do I mean by a value ladder? Well, if we look at the value ladder for a dentist, for sake of argument, what dentists really want is for people to come on board and to buy the really expensive stuff, the cosmetic stuff. My dad used to be a dentist, and he did cosmetic dentistry as well. He had a lot of famous actors and actresses, and he charged a lot for that. Interesting, teeth whitening was high up that value ladder as well. Back in the day, it was very, very expensive. Today, teeth whitening's pretty standard stuff for most people. So a lot of dentists, their value ladder will be something like this. To get you in, they'll give you teeth cleaning and maybe even teeth whitening for free, just to get you on board, just so they can treat you really well, give you a great service, get some great testimonials, get some referrals and some introductions, maybe get some video testimonials as well. And that makes it much more likely that the relationship is going to get off to a good start, the relationship will mature, and it makes it much more likely that those clients will go on to happily pay for the expensive stuff in due course. The value ladder for a chiropractor will look something like that. Very often they'll start with free consultations, maybe even a freebie massage, but really today's top chiropractors, what they want you to do is to fork out a few £1,000 to go on their weekend wellness retreat at a spa hotel with a celebrity chef and so on and so on. But that's not going to happen. People aren't going to buy that stuff until they've experienced your service further down the ladder. Value ladder for a gym, the value ladder for a gym actually has got a start date. It's January the 1st. And we all know what the value ladder for a gym is. They get you in, they give you the freebie. Really what they want you to do is to get to the point where you are paying on a regular basis for private coaching and so on and so forth. Now, this is my value ladder. What I really want to happen is I want people to spend a lot of money for my deep dive weekend marketing retreat, which starts on a Friday lunchtime, finishes on a Sunday evening. It's at a really nice hotel, and we go seriously deep into financial advisor marketing. That is really expensive. So what I've done is, and no one's going to buy that until they've got to know me and got to know what I do and what else I do. So I've got 4 tiers in my value ladder. The green tier is the free stuff. And hopefully that green tier is high value free stuff. So our Life Talk group on Facebook is free, and it gives an immense amount of value to financial advisors. The stuff in blue might be free, it might be chargeable. The stuff in black is always chargeable, and the stuff in red is reassuringly expensive. So that is my value ladder. But no one's going to have my one-to-one coaching over a year. No one's going to come to the weekend retreat unless they've experienced some of the other stuff along the way. So how could we potentially apply that to financial advisors? Well, it could be any of these things. Myself, people like Phil Bray, people like Faith Liversedge, we've been saying for years and years and years that your website may look fantastic, it may look beautiful. And, people like Phil Bray and Faith, they produce some of the best looking websites across the industry. But we also know that at the end of the day, a financial advisor's website, to be quite honest, is an online brochure. And what we really want to happen, if we want conversions from those websites, is we really need to bring people into our world. They arrive on our website and they feel like they want to engage with you. Now, in the old days, and I stress this is the old days, yet most financial advisors still don't do this. In the old days, what you do is you'd have on your website something along the lines that says, hey, give us your email address, download our free guide on 10 retirement tips to help you in the future. They get a bit of value, you get an email address, everybody's happy. But most financial advisors don't even do that. So what financial advisors could do is build their own value ladder. And what you see here is just a list of some of the things that you might want to consider on your value ladder. You don't want to have all of them by any stretch of the imagination. You want to pick the things that you think could work for you. But here's the thing. This stuff can potentially take time to actually put together. But guess what? We've now got AI. You could create every single one of those things, and maybe the agenda for your own personal weekend retreat. You could create every single one of those things using ChatGPT, and you could do it in a day, in an afternoon. And that's the amazing thing about it. It now gives us the ability to do things that we know we probably ought to be doing, but aren't actually doing. And we're not actually doing them for a whole bunch of different reasons. So that's the beauty of this thing. We can now finally use these tools to create a value ladder that has real meaning for people, that's got real value for people as well. And just to give you an example of financial advisors that have built value ladders, Martin is sort of taking a step back. He's still a director of Informed Choice Financial Planning. But the early days of his value ladder, he wrote 3 books quite early on. He'd written 3 books before he was 35. And I remember with a lot of amusement seeing that many of the average age financial advisors at the time saying, well, what does he know about financial planning? He's only 35. Yet there it is. And, he still tells me that to this day, when a new client comes on board, some of them said, oh, yeah, I read your book years ago. Some of you know Catherine Morgan. She's really, really absolutely crushing it on how she uses Facebook and Instagram. She has a real focus on helping women with personal finance, and she does all sorts of challenges and courses. She really has got her act together with this. So she really is very, very good at creating a clear value ladder that says to a whole range of different people, here's a way for me to experience your expertise early on in our relationship before we go on to do some of the higher value services. And dare I say, the daddy of content, the daddy of value ladders, Pete Matthews, been doing this for donkey's years now. And what was really interesting, he started out with his YouTube channel and his podcast, not deliberately to create a value ladder, but it was something that he enjoyed doing. He enjoyed educating consumers. And all of us on this call, we know perfectly well how important it is for consumers to get personal finance education. And yet, which group of people in society provide most education to consumers out there? Journalists. We can talk about journalists giving financial advice until the cows come home. But I've said for donkey's years that it's financial advisors who should be educating consumers. But guess what? We've now got AI, which will help us to do that. Now, I do some work with accountants as well. I did a workshop on AI for accountants not so long ago. And we were starting to look at what are different ways that accountants could build up their value ladder. And what are the different ways that accountants could create a new income stream using their expertise. And we did a bit of a brainstorm, and some of them said, well, why don't we create an accountancy course? Why don't we teach other people? Now, if you go to a website like Udemy, U-D-E-M-Y, Udemy is basically a website for courses. An expert creates a course, they upload it, and they sell it. Now, just look at this particular course here. This has got almost 5-star ratings across the piece. It has had 14,000 ratings, 66,500 students, and the owner of this course charges right now £18. Now, you're the financial advisor here. You do the sums. Let's take 14,000 and multiply it by £18. That comes to a fairly big number. You could do this as well. And accounting from beginner to advanced. 6,000 ratings, 29,000 students, $19.99. That's a very tidy new income stream. Thank you very much. What about financial advisors? So if you do a search, here's one I found: the complete personal finance course, Save, Protect, Make More, 9,500 ratings, and this guy here's charging $15.99 for it. Now, these courses were created before AI came along. Someone actually had to do it manually. Here's another one: financial planning, coaching certification, 16 quid, and so on and so forth. And I think I found another one here: personal finance for beginners, financial planning 101. Every single one of you on this call could create something like that. Every single one of you. Now, if you'd done it before AI came along, it would have taken you a bit of time and a bit of effort. Nowadays, you can do this using AI. Now, one of the things you could do, you could go to ChatGPT and you could say to it, look, I want to create my own personal finance course that I want to sell on my website. Suggest some modules for me. And it will do that. And then if you want to, you could get it to actually do it. You could actually get it to create the videos. You could get it to create the audio. You can get it to do absolutely everything. Now, right at the beginning, you might remember I showed some of my AI art pictures. You know, if I can sell a piece of AI art, being someone who has absolutely no skill in art whatsoever, then a financial advisor who has real skill, expertise, and experience in personal finance can create a pretty nice looking course that people will want to buy. And I say will want to buy, you've just got to look at the number. That one there has had 61,500 people have taken that personal finance course. I remember saying to Pete Matthew many years ago now, when he said to me, Phil, I'm going to do a personal finance podcast. And I remember saying to him, Pete, I think that's a great idea. I think it's much needed, but I honestly don't think anyone's going to be the slightest bit interested. How wrong could I have been? So there is demand for this. And some of you watching this might now be thinking, well, hold on, this is quite interesting. Maybe you'll have a very specific target market in your financial planning practice. And you know perfectly well that's your target market, but you also know there's a huge number of people out there in the community who need your expertise, but who can't afford your fees or whatever. Here is a way for them to experience and purchase your expertise and experience in a variety of different ways. And I think this is an absolutely fantastic opportunity for us to do. So we're going to have a little go and actually do some of this in just a second. But when it comes to marketing or creating your value ladder, you can get AI to do any of these at all, literally any of them. Let's take your LinkedIn profile. Always cracks me up when in our Facebook group, when somebody mentions LinkedIn, we get it's almost identical word for word threads. When someone says, I don't like all the recruiters on LinkedIn, we get a bit of an old thread going where people say, yeah, best thing I ever did was ditch LinkedIn a few years ago because there's too many recruiters. And that always cracks me up, because the simple fact of the matter is, if recruiters are approaching you on LinkedIn, it is your fault. It's not the recruiter's fault. Now, I say it is your fault. And what you tend to get with LinkedIn is a lot of financial advisors, they have a LinkedIn profile, great, but they don't position their profile and aim it at their ideal dream client. They tend to position themselves as a fairly generic looking financial advisor. And recruiters are really good at finding generic looking financial advisors. Use AI, go onto ChatGPT and describe in detail what a perfect dream ideal client would look like to you. Tell it all about yourself, your experience, where you used to work, what your skills are, and so on and so forth. And then say, write my LinkedIn profile for me. And it will create it for you. What you want to do is tweak it and then put that on there, and then be amazed how few recruiters ever approach you again. So here are just some of the things that you can use AI for. Ebook writing, email newsletter, personalized video mails, quizzes, YouTube scripts, courses, and you can even learn coding as well with it. So why don't we have a little go at this? In a moment or two, I'm going to introduce you to Alan, who is going to show you how he's used ChatGPT to help with exams. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to stop this, and we'll come back to that in a minute or two, and then I'm going to reshare, and I'm going to go to ChatGPT. Here it is here. And hopefully you can see me. John Howson, just give me a thumbs up if you can see ChatGPT. No, you can't. Can you see ChatGPT, John? You can, yeah? Fabulous. Okay. So this is ChatGPT. I've got ChatGPT Plus. To be quite honest, ladies and gents, just pay the money for ChatGPT Plus. You get ChatGPT 4, which is their top model, and you also get these things called GPTs, which we're going to try and build one in just a moment. It is well worth the $20 a month, and you can take pictures of the inside of your fridge as well. So let's see. It's got a nice little Christmas hat on. Oh, it's a birthday hat. It's my first birthday. Well, congratulations to them. So what we're going to do is just get it to do some really, really simple stuff for now. And then we're going to talk a little bit about prompt engineering and how we can get much more sophisticated. So let's imagine that I'm a financial planner. Let's say I'm a financial planner and I've just opened up in Reading. Let's just keep it simple. Yeah. Create 3 tweets to highlight my new financial planning, and even with spelling mistakes, okay? Business in Reading. Let's just keep it as simple as that. So it's even put hashtags in there as well. And to be quite honest, those are pretty well good to go. Now, this is created by AI. We put in almost no information at all. We said we're a financial planning business in Reading. That's all we put. However, let's say, though, we want to attract younger clients who are, let's say, tech business owners. Rewrite these tweets. Again, with a bit of tweaking, these are good to go straight off the bat. That's about as simple as it gets. So why don't we now, we want to build relationships with accountants in Reading. That's something that we think is really important. So write an email to a firm of local accountants introducing ourselves and hinting at a mutual relationship. Again, that is about as basic a prompt as we could possibly get it, but let's see what it comes up with. Yeah, and again, with a bit of tweaking, that's pretty well good to go. Now, let's say though that our branding, let's say make this less formal and see what it comes up with. Now, if you've never used ChatGPT before, one of the first things that kind of strikes you is, my goodness, how on earth is it actually doing this? But again, pretty well good to go. Daniel Priestley talks quite a lot about looking at AI as what you're seeing here is it is baking the cake. What we are needing to then do is to put the icing on it and finesse it. That's basically how to do it. However, what's really interesting is the more you use this, the more it gets to know you, the more it understands your tone, and it really does then. It's like having a member of staff who's been with you for 5-10 years and they know you inside out, back to front. Okay, so now let's take it a stage further, and let's say we want to sponsor the local under 11s football team, the local girls under 11 football team. So let's write a press release to the local Reading advertiser announcing that we are sponsoring the under 11 girls soccer team. See what it comes up with. And again, it's even put a quote in there. It's all pretty well good to go, to be quite honest. So, even with these really short, simple examples, you can see the potential that something like this offers. Really powerful stuff. So why don't we create a course? I want to create a video course on personal finance, call it 101, for Udemy, for sake of argument, and YouTube. Start by giving me the module titles. And again, that's a really short prompt. And, for those of you that are thinking, I ought to be doing this, it's put mutual funds in interesting here. So one of the things you can do is tell it that everything you want it to produce should be UK focused, with UK English spelling and grammar as well. So you won't get US types up. So look at that there. It's produced 12 modules, which again are pretty well good to go. And if you've been thinking about creating a course, you can do that. Now, there are other tools now. So what we could now do is just, for sake of argument, we'll now say, write the audio text for module 11. And we'll just let it get on with it. But, you can see this is extraordinary. Now, you can now use other tools that will literally turn this into a video. You can have some ready-made presenters do this, but there are also some tools, and I'll show you one of them in a minute, where you could take a couple of photos of you just looking straight at the camera, and then it will use that photo and it will turn it into an ultra realistic avatar of you speaking to the camera, narrating this particular text. How cool is that? Yeah. So there's just some ideas of what you can do. Now, one of the most exciting things about AI is what you can now do is create personalized versions of it. And you can see on there, so you're creating a personalized version of ChatGPT that just performs one particular task really quite well. So I think, why don't we, at this point, I'm going to hand over to you, Alan. I'm going to unshare here so that you can take over from here and just show an example of what you've managed to do, creating your own tailored version of ChatGPT.
Yep, no problem. That's fine. Yeah, hi everybody. My name's Alan. And yeah, I'm Scottish, so I'll talk very slowly. So here is the GPT that I made. And I suppose I'll just ask it a question as though I was maybe an advisor using it. I have a client who has just purchased a property worth, let's say, 750,000. It is their second residential property. GPTs usually are okay with spelling mistakes, but I'm bad at typing when people are watching me. So, what is the stamp duty land tax payable? Usually when you ask it a question like this, it does have to analyze the data. It has access to a lot of information, so it does take a second or two. I've trained this to give concise answers in the first instance, but you could view the analysis, which will show you the calculation that it's done. You can see here the brackets, or you could just ask it to explain further, and it'll break down the answer as well. It's quite useful for people who are learning the exams, but I do believe that it could be useful for people who have already got their diplomas and are advising clients. For example, if you're wanting to see, to run through a fact find, for example, this is quite useful for that, which again is useful for the RO6 exam. So again, I do think there's plenty of examples to be given here, either whether they are focused on the exams for studying purposes or whether they are specific to being an advisor already and you have a client that's raised a question that you might not know the answer to straight away. You can get a very quick answer. Again, like there's maybe some rules that you aren't 100% familiar with. For example, in the office the other day, we actually had to figure out the tapered annual allowance for a client and how that works with employer contributions versus employee contributions. We hadn't come across that in a while, so it was we had to refresh ourselves. So it's quite good at picking up context as well. I don't think I would have to say for annual allowance purposes there. It would probably understand what I meant by tapering, even though it does have access to 6 exams worth of information. So again, for the analysis there, it will explain exactly where it's getting this information from and the rules that it's using to give that answer. But again, you can't just ask it to explain itself. And you could ask it things like, okay, what would happen if I had an employer contribution of X amount instead, that sort of thing. It's quite impressive, I think, how it's able to understand these rules not only on a factual basis but on a contextual basis as well. It's really clever, I think. Phil, if there's anything else that you want me to sort of display with it, I can do.
Just give us one more example.
Yeah, of course. I could say, what are the advantages of using a trust for life policies? For this particular GPT, it only has access to what I've given it, so that's why it searches its knowledge every time, rather than just answering straight away from what it's been pre-trained on. And again, for question 3 there, it's assumed that it's a bare trust. So you could say, oh, what happens if it's a different kind of trust? Would it be a chargeable lifetime transfer instead? You can give it specifics, and it'll adjust the answer accordingly. But yeah, I think it's quite useful for calculations as well. RO3, I know that it would have been very helpful for me if I had this tool, because the CII mock exams, they do give you what the correct answer is if you've got a question wrong, but it doesn't explain why. So I think given a question, it'll explain the answer, but also the context behind the answer as well. I think that's a great tool to be using when you're studying for these exams.
That's great. Thanks, Alan. A couple of questions that came up. How can we have access to it? Now, these GPTs are still, they've only been available a couple of weeks or so. And the idea is that there is going to be a GPT store from OpenAI that those that are made public will be visible within the store. So it'll be a bit like the App Store, or wherever you get your Android apps. So it's kind of going to be a bit like that. The challenge, what we don't yet know, is how we can make these available now to people outside this environment. There's all sorts of speculation how that's going to happen. However, if you have ChatGPT Plus and you have the link to this, you will then be able to use it. You'll find a whole bunch of other GPTs that people have created, literally everything from how to learn to crochet through to how to be a rocket scientist. There's literally GPTs on everything under the sun. Kevin also, so watch this space as to how you can get, but if you do have ChatGPT Plus, you will be able to have access if you are given the link. So, for example, Alan may choose just to keep this as a tool that he uses within his business, or he may want to make it available to the world, or indeed he might want to charge for access to this as well. So we have choices. It's a bit like when you download an app to your mobile phone. Some apps are free, some apps are chargeable, some apps you pay for stuff within. There's a very different variety of different ways. So Kevin's question, how do we create GTPs? Well, why don't we actually give that a go right now? I'm going to have a chat with Alan separately as to how willing or not he might be to make this available to people. And when I follow this up and send everybody the video, we'll talk about how we do that. So why don't we actually, thanks very much for doing that, Alan. I hope people got a sense of what can be done there. So why don't we actually try and create a GPT right now? There's a challenge. How about that? So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to go back here. So by its very definition, doing this. So can we see ChatGPT on my screen again? John, just give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Fabulous. Okay. So over on the left here, we've got some GPTs that I've created. Here's one that helps IFAs and advisors to attract more of their ideal clients through effective referral marketing. It will teach you how to get more referrals based around variety. So, and it's got some ready-made questions like, how can I ask referrals without being pushy? Can you provide a script for asking referrals? And so on and so forth. So that's a tool I'm going to be making available soon. We've got our Advisor Marketing Club. So anybody who's signed up for the Advisor Marketing Club is going to get access to this. If you're in the equity release space or the later life space, you have some very unique challenges when it comes to lead generation. So you can use this one to help you get more equity release clients. Here's another interesting one that I've really enjoyed playing with. Helps IFAs and financial planners to create profitable new income streams from their expertise, which is quite good fun. Here's one that will help you to use LinkedIn much more effectively as well. And many, many years ago, I used to be a wedding speech photographer. I just did it in my teens. I've seen hundreds and hundreds of wedding speeches, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I actually wrote a book called How to Make an Amazing Wedding Speech. It sells more copies than any other book I've ever written. But what we've got here is a tool that if you've got to make a speech coming up this weekend or wherever, this will create your speech for you, or it'll even give you some ideas as well. So why don't we actually make a GPT? And I said, it's going to be basic because we're doing it right now and we haven't got all the time in the world. So what you do is you go to the Create GPT. It says, I'll help you to create an GPT. And it tells you what to do. So we don't need any coding skill. We can literally write in what we want. So why don't we create a tool that will help us to create marketing content? So create a tool for financial planners to use that will help them to create educational and marketing content. Let's just give it that. We could give it a lot more, but let's see what it says next. So it's having a little think about it. So it is going a little bit slow today. Hopefully it is actually going to do it. Oh, here we go. So it's having a little think. This is why I do this at 10 a.m. in the mornings before the Americans all come on board, when ChatGPT can slow down just a little bit. So here we go. Let's see what it's. So even suggests a name. I suggest the name GPT, Financial Content Creator. Does this name work for you? I mean, it's okay. That's good. We can change it later. Good for now. So it's now going to create the logo or the image for it. Now, this is usually a bit hit and miss. Sometimes it nails it first time. But again, whatever it comes up with, we can change it later if we don't like it. So let's see what it comes up with. Okay, that's good enough for now. If we wanted to, we could add our logo to it, but there we go. And it's already given it a little summer, a helper financial planners in creating educational and marketing content. So let's just put great. Okay, now let's refine it. Let's focus on its role and goal, considering its purpose to help financial planners with educational work. What specific types of content should it focus on? All of that, plus ebooks, courses. What else would we like it? Ebooks, courses, blogs, technical guides, tweets, LinkedIn posts, etc. Again, we're just giving it basic stuff just to get the basic thing off the ground. Okay, that's interesting. So it's now saying, what should it emphasize or avoid in its responses? Are there any specific topics, tones, or types of advice it should steer clear of? So that's interesting. So what we now want to do, note this, it said, how should it handle sensitive financial information or regulatory compliance? So that's quite a lot. But let's just for now saying, avoid giving financial advice and avoid financial promotions. Stick to generic educational content for marketing purposes. And you'll notice on the right here, it's already started coming up with some sort of ready-made inputs, prompts that we might want to put in terms of interaction. How detailed should the responses be? Should it provide brief overviews or in-depth explanations? And how would you like it to handle situations where it might not have enough information? So let's just leave it at that for now. We could keep on answering the questions, but the next step would be that we go to the configuration tab here, and it already came up with a name, but we could change the name if we want to. So financial content creator. We can give it a description, and what it has done here, it's summarized what it's learned so far. Now, what I normally do is really then go to town on fine-tuning it. What I've found, for example, is if I ask it to create something, it will give, or if I pretend to be an advisor and ask, give me some suggestions to promote my equity release business, it will come up with a whole bunch of stuff. In fact, it comes up with far too much stuff. So what I do is I give it instructions in here to ask questions and get to know the user. And then I ask it to not provide a raft of information at the early stage, but to provide some basic information, then to gradually build on it so that the user actually feels that they're having a proper conversation with this stuff. Otherwise, it does feel like you're just talking to a computer and it's chucking stuff at you that it's picked up off the internet somewhere. So this is where you fine tune it. You can change your conversation starters here as well. And what you can also do, this is a real key bit here, is you can upload your own content to this. So, for example, if you've written a book or you've written some blogs, or you can upload that there. So it will take, when it serves up the answers, it will take information from what it already knows, but it will also supplement that with the information you've uploaded. But what you can also do is to ask it to prioritize what you've uploaded over other things as well. So, and there's a few other bits and bobs that you can do in there. So what you can see already, and we can start using this straight away. And if I save it, I can choose to make it public. That means it will go straight into the GPT store when it becomes available, or I could only make it available to a few people. Perhaps, you know, I might want to charge people for this, or I can use it just for me in the meantime. So I'm just going to confirm that there. But that's basically a very simple GPT that's taken us, all of 5 minutes to create. But if you look at what Alan's done there with his RO tool, again, we are only limited by our own imaginations as to how we can use this. I just want to go back to the wedding speech one, just as an example. A friend of mine in the States, a guy called Tom Antian, was one of the world's first internet marketers. He was one of the first people to suddenly realize the potential of making huge amounts of money selling expertise online. And in the early days, it used to be just ebooks and e-guides. And we had a chat once, and he said to me, you know, the best thing I ever did, Phil, was to create an ebook on how to make a wedding speech. He said, I put it on my wedding, and he said, it's basically a template which people download and they fill in the gaps. And he said, what was really interesting is that 99% of the sales of his ebooks happened on Friday evenings. In other words, the day before someone was due to make the wedding speech, which I think is hilarious. But what I've managed to create here is I've taken my wedding speech book and I've added in a whole bunch of other background information as well. In fact, I might as well show you. If I go to Edit GPT and I go to Configure, you can see what we've put in here, and I put in loads and loads of stuff, and it's kind of crunched it down into there. And I'm going to sell this literally this weekend. It's going to go live. I found a way to give people access to it. So I hope that gives you just kind of some clues as to what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do now is just go back to the presentation just to start to wrap up. I hope you found that useful. If I stop the share here, and then I go to here, and I go to here, and we put that up on there. Hopefully we're now back to the presentation. John Howson, just give me a thumbs up if you can see the presentation. Fantastic, that's good. Okay, so what you can see, hopefully what's come out of that is most of the skill in this is in terms of what you ask it to do. The more detailed the instructions you give it, the better result you're going to get. That's fundamentally where this is going. So you could say write a 500-word blog, but I just want to show you some examples of how you can really go to town on this. So here's just one particular prompt that you could use. And if you join our AI best practice group, I've got a list of about 200 different prompts that financial advisors can use to play around with. So brainstorm and list the market opportunities and target client segments for a financial planning business in the UK that most are overlooking. You can add to that, you can tweak that, but that's quite a nice one to use with ChatGPT. Here's another one. Analyze cash flow modeling. Give me 5 ideas on how to make this interesting and engaging content as part of the promotion of my services as a lifestyle financial planner. That's a fun one to do as well. And then you can just take this. So here's a template. Break down a particular topic. You could say investment planning, life planning, equity release, whatever, into smaller, easier to understand parts. Use analogies. It is absolutely brilliant at using analogies and real life examples to simplify the concept and make it more relatable. And then you can add to it a bit more, break down financial. And so here it is, break down financial planning. There's that exact example. Here's another one. One of my key challenges in my industry is whatever it is. I believe there's an opportunity here, but I need some fresh ideas. Help me brainstorm 5 innovative solutions or approaches to address this long-standing challenge effectively. So you can take big industry issues and get it to help you sort them out, which I think is just wonderful. Here's another one. Now, here's a slightly long one. Provide me with an amusing and useful transcript of a hypothetical debate between 3 of my clients, where they're talking about my business, which they use to describe. This is a really fun one to do. So for context, sometimes clients tell us whatever, and some known challenges in my business, and it will literally come up with a theoretical conversation between those 3 clients. And it is amazing the insights that it gives you about your own business. Include an introduction viewpoint of each person in the debate before it starts. Play out the conversation as if they're having problems with our service. So you can use this as a tool to find perhaps areas for enhancing your business, give insights and suggestions that emerge from this discussion. So the more detailed the description you give it in the first place, the better result it will give you. Now, I mentioned earlier that you could create courses or videos, and you could have them in as an ultra realistic avatar of you. One of those tools is called HeyGen. And it's worth looking at. HeyGen's a lovely tool. The ultra realistic avatar is not available to everyone. I can't remember what you have to pay for it, but you do have to pay for it. So I went on the waiting list for this, and the founder of the company sent me this. I'll turn it up a bit as an email.
Hey, Villa, thank you for showing interest in our ultra-realistic avatar feature. We appreciate your curiosity. We will be in touch soon. By the way, this is an automated video message created with my avatar. Hope you enjoy it and talk to you soon. Hey, Villa, thank you for showing interest in...
And so on and so forth. So that was created from one photo of his face. And to me, I thought, well, that's fantastic. This is amazing. Now, for those of you that you get inquiries maybe from your website, or people talk to you on LinkedIn, or maybe you have a scorecard or a quiz on your website, or maybe people register for your email newsletter via your website. In other words, anyone who gives you their name and email address, you could use a tool like this to highly personalize how you follow that up. I think that's really cool. I think that is taking service to, another level. Again, this is really, really early days. And to me, people talk about deep fakes. Yeah, we've heard about deep fakes. That's a deep fake. But you could create deep fakes of yourself and using it as a client interaction tool that really takes communication with clients to completely another level. So just starting to wrap up, in terms of the immediate future, this is going to go wild. I'm fascinated to know how we're looking at in 1 year's time. If you are an early adopter for this and you start learning about it, start understanding it, it's going to be a huge benefit for your business. And here's the thing that we want to remember. A day will come quite a few years down the line where maybe AI is pulling most of the weight in our financial advice businesses. A day may come. But in the meantime, if you ignore this, then it really does have the potential to disrupt your business. Or at least other advisors who are using AI have the potential to disrupt our businesses. If you have a team, if you have colleagues, or if you work with other people, I would start bringing this up in meetings. I would even get to a point where I would suggest that you appoint an AI champion in your business, someone whose part of their role is to be on top of this stuff. They don't need to learn how to code. They don't need to be a data scientist. They don't need to have a degree in data science or computer science. They just need to listen to what's going on in the news, maybe sign up for 1 or 2 newsletters, and just be aware of how AI is being used in society and opening minds as to how it can potentially be used within our businesses, so that when the day comes where you really decide to start using AI in a whole variety of other ways within your business, and it's only a matter of time before we start to see some of the big tech players within that we know in our industry, they'll be embedding all sorts of AI into their tools as well. So that's just inevitable, that will come. In the meantime, make it your mission just to start being aware. And the fact you just turned up for this today, I'm really grateful that you turned up for this today, but it shows that you are opening your mind and you're starting to get on top of it. What else have we got to say? And if nothing else, just play with it. Just start playing around with it, using it. Use it for fun, use it in a variety of different ways. Clearly, you're not going to let client data anywhere near this. But here's a really interesting thing, one way you could potentially use it. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're a financial planning firm, but it may well be that you've got a micro niche. Maybe you've got a few clients, half a dozen clients who are, let's say, dentists. Now, if you've got a few clients who are dentists, that presupposes then that you probably have a knowledge about dentists' career paths and their financial pathways through life. You have the potential to get tools like ChatGPT to create almost personalized educational articles and blogs that are just relevant to your dental clients. So if you're doing a newsletter, whether you buy in your newsletter or what you do, the chances are your newsletter that you send out now is broadly relevant to most clients. But what you can now start doing is put in some fictional data or even anonymized data and start having it create a newsletter just for these particular groups of clients. And that's serious value. You could do it anyway right now, but it's time consuming. But if you use a tool like this, it'll make it much better. Just pay for ChatGPT Plus. It's well worth the $20 a month. And what you're essentially getting yourself is a new office assistant for $20 a month, which I think is going to be pretty good value. So just going back to where we started, get the idea that this is coming at some point in the future way out of your minds, because it's here now. It's still early days, but even early days, we've seen some extraordinary advances so far. Please don't ignore it. I don't think any of you are doing that. But please do take responsibility and learn a bit more about it. That's why one of the reasons why we have this AI best practice. This is a chargeable group. It's only £7 a month. And if you want to join that, please do just scan that particular code there or go to that particular link. And literally we put in pretty well every day some valuable resources. You'll get a couple of hundred prompts when you join that you can use to play around with ChatGPT. And what we're really quite interesting is we're seeing how different financial planners are already using AI in a variety of different ways, shapes and forms. And I'm really excited about what I'm going to be seeing financial planners creating, maybe taking things like creating their own GPTs which they just start using initially within their own business, but they then have the potential to sell them on outside. So we're about done. Thank you very much for your time. Unless anybody's got any questions right now, or feel free to drop me a line privately, whatever you want to do. Thank you so much for coming along today. Really appreciate that. I'll make sure that you get a copy of the slides and a copy of the video as well. As I said, if you've got any questions, please send them to me, and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care. Be good.